Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your January 2019 general reading. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Welcome to any newcomers. Thanks to all of you for your likes, shares, subscribes, and comments and feedback. Thanks to all of my clients out there for keeping me so busy always. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season, Christmas, New Year's, and we're starting off a brand new year, 2019. If any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, those of you that follow me know you can get more information and contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the little About button there, or you can click on the description bar of any of the videos I post. You can email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you. Turnaround time for personal readings is usually pretty timely. I do readings full-time, 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do. So I work pretty diligently with your schedules to get you a reading as quickly as we can. And I can usually get back to you within the same day or the first 24 hours of your initial contact. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy, and that link is also provided. That's more for fast answers to the quick, easy questions, but for the more traditional readings or complex issues, a more traditional reading is probably called for. So just something else for you to think about. All right, let's move right into this reading. Excuse me. This reading is for the fire sign of Leo, our lovely lions, for the month of January 2018. If you know your rising and moon sign, watch those as well for additional clarification. General readings always resonate a little differently for everybody watching. Okay, Leo, let's see what January 2019 has in store for you. Okay, we begin with two cards that are stuck together. Okay, we begin with the Nine of Cups, followed by the Queen of Swords. We have the King of Swords, followed by the Four of Swords. We have Judgment, followed by the Eight of Cups. And we have the Ace of Swords, followed by the Devil. From the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and guidance is the Nine of Swords. So it looks like for a lot of you, the overall energy is, overthinking something, stress, anxiety, worry, fear about the future, potential or lack of potential of something, because your overall energy is the Nine of Swords. Swords is air energy, and in the tarot, this is the energy of what goes on, between our ears. Thoughts, ideas, belief systems, ideologies, because that affects the way that we see the world and communicate with the world and people in the world as well. So the Nine of Swords usually comes up when someone is in fear of something, and usually it's a fear of the future, pre-writing a script that doesn't exist yet. What will I do if this happens? What will I do if this doesn't happen? Well, if I make this decision, what if this happens? It's thoughts kind of going around and around and around, and actually making something to be bigger and worse in your head than is actually in the reality of the situation. Now, the source of your concerns might be valid, but this is a card of overthinking it and making it way more complicated and complex. So I really never like to see that energy coming out for people, because it's creating something big, which, again, the source might be valid. I think for a lot of you, this is a relationship or a partnership reading. For some of you, it might be a work situation that you have a lot of, thought, time, emotion invested into. But I think for many of you, this is going to be a relationship or partnership of some kind. And there's a lot of stress and anxiety and worry about it. And I feel like it's about making a decision, because we have Judgment here, and what's going to happen based on what decision you make or what decision comes out of this, maybe around the middle of the month or so. I'm actually going to pull a couple of clarifying cards for that Nine of Swords. Clear thinking and insight is definitely the word of the day here, or the words of the day for the words of this month, because I'm seeing that a lot of, looking at the truth is important. Okay, clarifying cards for this Nine of Swords energy. It's what I thought for many of you. We have the Two of Cups come out, a soulmate connection, relationship, or energy around a situation, definitely karmic, and the Six of Cups attached to it. So someone from the past perhaps coming up, or somebody that you're currently partnered with that you may have been going through a lot of struggles and issues, but somebody you've been with for quite some time. For some of you, it might be someone coming up from the past and kind of needing to make a decision about that. For some of you, it might be a job or work situation that you've been in for quite some time. That might be the case for a smaller number of you, but I think for many of you, this is about a relationship or a partnership. Now, that could be in the love and romance department, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, that kind of partner, or it could be a very close family member or best friend situation. But it's definitely this karmic ties. I definitely feel like this is somebody you know and you've had a relationship with of one type or another for some time, and there's this kind of stress about it or fear about it during the month of January. And I feel like it's about a decision that's on the table for you, for them, regarding the relationship or the partnership. And I feel like clear thinking really is strongly advised here. Now, we have around the end of December or beginning of January, we have the Nine of Cups and the Queen of Swords. So the Nine of Cups, it is considered one of the wish fulfillment cards, the wish fulfillment card. It's a card about getting what you want and having your cups overflowing. It can also speak of, actual celebrations, getting out, enjoying yourself, maybe drinking a lot, having a lot of fun with friends and family, having your cups overflowing and kind of that spilling all over. And because it's showing up, beginning of January, we have New Year's too. So some of you, it may reference, the New Year's energy and really having a good time then, with friends and family, with loved ones. Now, it's clarified, however, by the Queen of Swords. You have both the Queen and the King of Swords. And I feel like for a lot of you, these cards represent more on an energetic level, meaning that it's more about the energy of what these cards represent rather than a specific person. But for some of you, you may be involved with an air sign person or someone who, has a lot of air in their natal chart, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra energy, Sun, Moon, or Rising. The Queen and King of Swords both are very clear thinking, insightful, what is the truth and reality of this situation kind of people. They value truth, clarity, honesty, integrity. Sometimes are willing to sacrifice their own emotions on the altar of, okay, what's realistic here, even though my heart wants this, if the truth shows that this isn't possible, so I need to go with what the truth is and stop, deluding myself. I'm not saying that that might be the situation for some of you, but I feel like there's this element of it in there. And I feel like even though you may be enjoying yourself around the end of December, beginning of January, kind of that holiday season, and you should, I feel like, well, you definitely need to be careful with drinking and partying and stuff like that. Make sure that you pay attention to, your surroundings, and make sure if you're going out and you're having a good time, make sure that, and if you plan on maybe going overboard a little bit, make sure before you begin this process that you have everything in place in terms of, okay, am I staying where I'm going to be drinking? Do I have a way home? Making sure that you're safe and in your environment and with people too, if you plan on kind of indulging or maybe indulging in a bit of excess at this time, definitely that. And I feel too there's this need to be kind of realistic about something. Because the Nine of Cups is a wonderful energy card, but there's always a bit of cautionary advice to getting everything you want. You may get it and find out it's not everything that you thought it was. There's this kind of underlying energy for a lot of you, Leo, about needing to keep kind of a cautionary thread. Let me see if I can just say this in a way that makes sense. Needing to keep a bit of awareness, particularly between you and your partner, because it looks like there's something important that needs to be decided within this relationship, within this partnership, within this situation. And I feel like you need to really keep a level head about what the reality of the situation is. And that kind of continues in, the second week or so. We have the King of Swords and the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords, again, you may be dealing with an Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or somebody who has a lot of air in their natal chart. The Four of Swords is a card about taking a step back. Rest, respite, restoration, getting a different perspective, maybe feeling kind of tired and worn out. And again, for some of you, this just might be, post-holiday energy. Maybe you you were quite active and social during the holidays, and it's just kind of that after the holiday lull where you're kind of maybe recovering a bit and trying to, get it together and get kind of back in the schedule of things. But I feel like for those of you who are dealing with some kind of relationship, partnership, even work situation or relationship, I feel like you're being asked to keep a very clear head and look at what the reality of the situation is, because there's a decision that looks like it needs to be made maybe around this time, the middle of the month, the third week of the month. And some of you may be taking a step back from this situation, or your partner may be taking a step back from this situation to kind of think and consider, although I think that a lot of you have already put in a lot of time kind of thinking and considering whether or not to move a relationship, to continue to invest further. Because next we have Judgment and the Eight of Cups. So here's the decision, Judgment here. And it's a pretty important decision. This is major arcana energy. And it usually comes up when there's a choice on the table, and when that choice is going to have an effect on how things continue to play out in the future, because there's an air of finality to Judgment. It represents that whatever you choose around the situation, whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to set in motion, you're not going to be able to reverse this. It's going to set the stage for something for quite some time to come. Think about kind of the ripple effects of a situation, even if you can't see at the beginning what those ripple effects are going to be. So the advice is to make this decision based on a careful and honest and realistic evaluation of everything that's there. If this is a romantic relationship, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend kind of situation, it looks like you're making a decision whether to stay or whether to go, or whether to continue investing in something that looks like for many of you is not emotionally fulfilling for you, or at least it hasn't been up until this part, not completely, because Judgment is clarified by the Eight of Cups, which is turning your back, walking away, leaving something behind that ultimately isn't doing it for you. It's not bringing you joy and fulfillment. There may have been some good aspects of this relationship, some negative aspects, but this is a card of turning your back on something that you're considering turning your back and leaving a situation, because while again there may have been a lot of positive aspects, maybe the two of you got along well together, maybe you really do love and care about each other, there hasn't been, I feel like the two of you may have had different relationship goals or ideologies, regardless of the nature of this relationship, whether it's personal, family, love, work. And the other person may have kind of shied away from kind of looking that far ahead, maybe taking it more on a day-by-day basis. And there's this decision now about, is it realistic to move forward in this relationship, because one of you is not feeling satisfied by this, and again, you're responsible for this too. We are individually responsible for the decisions we make on our side in any relationship or partnership, regardless of the nature of that relationship. And that's what Judgment actually means, Leo. What does it mean to be judged? It means to be called to answer for your actions, not what we wished for, not what we hoped for, not what we wanted, but what we actually did, what we chose, what we set into motion. So, if this is a situation or a relationship that you want to stay in, ask yourself, are we working towards the same thing? Do we ultimately want the same things? And if not, then, perhaps we need to make a decision to go separate directions, because if you stay knowing that the other person doesn't ultimately want the same things, and you are responsible for kind of your dissatisfaction and unhappiness moving forward, or vice versa. So it looks like there's a lot of communication that needs to happen too, because whatever the nature of this relationship or partnership is, I feel like the two of you have been together for some time, and it's not, or this situation has been in place for some time, not just because of the Six of Cups, which has a strong connection to the past, something that's been there for a long time, or even someone from the past. But the Queen and King of Swords can also represent a couple too that are well matched together, but at the same time, one of you doesn't look fulfilled in this, and there's a decision that needs to be made. And I feel like you really need to manifest this energy of the Queen and King of Swords and looking at this situation, not ignoring what your heart says. I feel like you should weigh both the emotional aspects and the clarity, truth aspects of it too. But I really feel like you need to make the final decision be about, even though my heart might want this, do I realistically have, I mean, if we're not wanting the same things, then one of us is always going to be left wanting in this relationship. And because of that, it may mean that you're not right for each other, and that person that's right for you is still out there, or that situation that's right for you is still out there. So some of you may be making the decision around the middle of the month, the third week or so, to whether or not to walk away. And some of you may, and some of you may not. But I feel like you do see a lot more clearly at or towards the end of December 2018, because we have the Ace of Swords and the Devil here. The Ace of Swords is truth, it's clarity, it's information coming out, truth being revealed, a new perspective, a new epiphany, and it's clarified by the Devil. And I really feel like you see very clearly, and perhaps your partner as well, by or at the end of the month, maybe you decide to stay together or take a break, or maybe you decide, some of you may decide around the middle of the month, the third week or so, to leave. And some of you, this might even be a physical separation as well. You know, you actually leave, you know, being in the same place, home, area together. And I feel like you and possibly your partner have a lot more clarity over what has caused this imbalance in the relationship than I think you have throughout this process. And I feel like this is going to continue to play out into February. I hope I just didn't say December. We're in January now, because that's what this reading is for. I feel like this is going to continue to play out into February. And I may have said around the middle or the third week of December. I'm not meaning that. I mean the middle to the third week of January. It's sometimes difficult to transition from one year into the next, but Spirit knows my intent with shuffling for this. So yeah, I feel like this is going to continue to play out a little bit more into February, because these karmic ties that are between the two of you, it may be that you make the decision to leave, to separate, one of you or the other. And there may be this waiting time or waiting period, contemplation period, where if you're the one that makes the decision to walk away, your partner may actually, during the time right after that, get a clue. Or vice versa. It could be, you know, you on the other side of this story. Now, because this looks a little more challenging, although there's nice energy, I just feel like there's this decision kind of, and during the midst of this, it might be a bit challenging. So I'm going to pull some additional cards to see how this plays out in the next breath of energy after this, because I feel like the resolvement is still coming, or the final resolution is still coming. Let's see. Oh. So as the energy continues to play out a little bit more, maybe in the first part of February or so, we have the Four of Wands and the Knight of Wands. So for some of you, it may be that it feels like one person has something more invested in this, or the hope of a particular outcome, that the other person may be afraid of that level of commitment. He doesn't exactly not want to be with you. In fact, I feel for those of you for whom this is love and romance, that your partner may be afraid or not wanting to take that visible step of commitment, like getting engaged, getting married, whatever it might be. But I also don't feel like he or she wants to be with anybody else. They want to be with you. It's just that they're really reluctant, maybe history, maybe their own experiences, to actually take that step. And it may be, and of course this could always be on the other side of the story too, on the reverse side, vice versa. Some of you, it could be your partner asking you this, and maybe, and the person who's like going, okay, but I don't want to proceed any further until You know, I know that we're actually working towards the same thing, wanting the same thing, and I need some evidential proof and experience of that. So I need to make the decision to kind of either take some time off, or I need to make the decision to break from here even though I don't want to, because if this is the way it's going to be, I'm not going to be happy, and that means that I need to, you know, I need to go and heal and then see if I can find that happiness, you know, which I think is always possible. And there may be this relatively short waiting period, and then it feels like your partner, maybe during that time period, in the midst of all this imbalance and angst and fear, maybe, you know, maybe God's spirit, the angels and guides, hits him or her head on the head, and all of a sudden they see this, and they come back with this they come back very fast with this very fast moving offer. Unexpected blessings, happy surprises. This is one of the marriage cards, engagement cards as well, you know, with this offer of a commitment, and I feel like it comes in very fast. Of course, it could be you going to your partner and doing this as well if they're the ones that kind of walked away. For those of you for whom this wouldn't resonate, it might be somebody new coming in right on the heels of this. A new person. It could be a new job or work situation, or if you say, you know, I don't want to stay at this job because I've been working here and investing all of this and I'm not moving forward and I want to, so here's my 2-week notice, 3-week notice, whatever. And there's this little bit of time, and then your company or the person comes back and says, you know, we'd really like to retain you, here's what we're offering, kind of a situation, because it looks like there's an offer coming in very quickly after maybe somebody turns their back, walks away, or takes a step back, where the other person kind of goes, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to do this. I don't want to offer this because of these fears and concerns. But you know what? I really don't want to not have this person in my life here. So I'm going to come back with this offer. And after that, we'll see how it plays out. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how this plays out, both in the mid-months and in February, Leo. I actually feel like for many of you, this is going to really work out in a very positive way. It's just that how that positive way, how it kind of ends up working out is going to be different, because general readings can be tricky that way because you're trying to read for so many people. It's not just one single client. So I feel pretty positive for most of you. This is going to work out, even though there may be a time period where you're hurting or it's challenging, but something's coming in quite quickly right behind that, and it's beautiful and lovely. Yeah, so what that offer is and how it comes in is going to vary a little, but I really kind of like it. So when you get into these kind of periods during here, you know, and maybe conversations, or, you know, and again, if you feel like you really need to take a step back or walk away even though it hurts, don't do it because you're doing it with the belief that your partner is going to come back. Do it because it's honestly what you feel is best for you. But it looks like there's something either coming back to you, returning because you made a stand on what you feel is right, or something new is coming in quite quickly for you as well. But make sure that that choice and decision that you make, Leo, you make because you honestly feel it's the right decision, the right thing to do. So beautiful reading, quite powerful. I was expecting to see a little less of the intensity and more of just the post-holiday getting back into stuff. So again, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. So Leo, that sums up your reading, your general reading for January 2019. I hope you found it helpful and useful. Again, if any of you would like a more personal one-on-one reading with me, click on the description bar of any of the videos I post, or click on the little About button on my YouTube channel's homepage. Please email me directly at Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I'd be most happy to work with you. I do love and romance, of course, relationship compatibility charting, reconciliation potential. I do career work and finance, as well as investment readings. And I also do 6 and 12-month overviews, which are pretty popular. You can do them at any time of the year, but a lot of people, you know, like to order them, you know, November, December, January or so, as we're, you know, getting into a new year. It takes a look at everything that's coming in all the main areas of your life over a 6 or 12-month period of time, depending on how far ahead you want to look. So something to consider, as well as gift readings too. Okay, Leo, I will see you all again in a couple of weeks for the January mid-month readings. And until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life and a beautiful start to this new year. Take care. Bye-bye.